Hurts looking the other way. Lofts it. Barkley, end zone, makes the grab.
Now that the 2024 NFL regular season is over, it's time to complete the report card season for this year. So with that, how about we dive into our final grades for the 20 biggest NFL free agent signings of 2024.
3rd and 14. Over the middle and making the grab at the goal line.
Kirk Cousins, F. Believing they were just a quarterback away from contending for a Super Bowl, the Atlanta Falcons handed the four-time Pro Bowler Kirk Cousins a lucrative 4-year deal worth $180 million in free agency. The astronomical deal included $100 million of it being guaranteed. Cousins' tenure in Atlanta got off to a promising 6-3 start, headlined by a road win in Philadelphia and a season series sweep of the Buccaneers. At the halfway point of the season, the Falcons seemingly had the NFC South crown in their laps. But Captain Kirk inexplicably imploded over his next 5 starts. During a 4-game losing streak, he had no touchdown passes and 8 interceptions. A terrible outing in a Week 15 road win over the Las Vegas Raiders was the last straw, and he was benched in favor of rookie Michael Penix Jr. The Atlanta offense fared much better with Penix Jr., but the QB switch was too little too late. The Falcons finished 8-9 and missed the postseason for the 7th straight year. With that, Cousins' 2024 season ended with a 7-7 record, 3,508 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. Hindsight's 2020, but they probably should have never signed Cousins if they were sold on Penix Jr. all along anyway. Saquan Barkley, A+++++. After the New York Giants made the ridiculous decision to hold on to Barkley last year and lose him for nothing in free agency, the Philadelphia Eagles scooped up the number 2 pick of 2018 on a 3-year deal worth $37.75 million. Some folks thought it was a bit of an overpay for an injury-prone Barkley, considering the RB was a devaluing position and that the Eagles have made it work with a million guys running behind that O-line. Well, the joke is on all the haters. All Barkley did was join the 2,000-yard club with 2,005 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns. He led the NFL in scrimmage yards with 2,283, which was also a career high. If the Eagles didn't bench him in Week 18, Barkley might have broken Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing yards record. But hey, a 2K season, 14 wins, and an NFC East Division crown will suffice. Derrick Henry, A+++++++. Like the Giants with Barkley, the Tennessee Titans made a mind-boggling call not to move Henry ahead of the 2023 trade deadline. The master plan? Just let him leave for nothing in free agency, then rip it up with the new team. King Henry signed a 2-year deal with the Baltimore Ravens worth a modest $12 million. The best running back of his era playing with the NFL's best rushing offense led by Lamar Jackson. Come on, you knew it would be the perfect match. All Henry did was rush for 1,921 yards, his second best mark, along with 16 touchdowns that tied for the league lead. And he did it at the age of 30, no less. Henry and Jackson led the Ravens to a second straight AFC North crown, with the 518 points marking the second best single-season feat in franchise history. Calvin Ridley, B. Everyone knew that the 4-year, $92 million pact Ridley signed with the Titans was a giant overpay. But the reality is that rebuilding teams without a suitable answer at QB have to overpay to get their guys. Ridley was never going to perform like an All-Pro with a $23 million average annual value, but hey, despite a woeful quarterback room, he caught 64 passes for 1,017 yards, which was the second best mark of his career. And he was able to tack on 4 touchdowns. Get Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward as your QB with the number 1 pick, and Ridley's stats could really pop in 2025. Christian Wilkins, B. After a career year with the Miami Dolphins, Wilkins signed a 4-year deal with the Las Vegas Raiders worth $110 million. With Wilkins joining forces with Max Crosby, there was a lot to like about the Raiders' D heading into the new season. Unfortunately, a foot fracture ended Wilkins' season at 5 games. He still had 2 sacks in those contests and had an 80.2 run defense grade at Pro Football Focus, 3rd best among defensive linemen. Yeah, short sample size, but still pretty noteworthy. Wilkins had a 74.8 PFF grade for the year before his injury. The limited game action prevents him from getting an A, but hey, just saying, those early results are looking real promising for Vegas. Xavier McKinney, A+. The Green Bay Packers don't usually spend big bucks in free agency, but 2024 was a special exception. It came away with two big fishes on the open market, including ex-New York Giants safety Xavier McKinney on a 4-year pact worth $67 million. Named to his first career Pro Bowl in 2024, McKinney recorded a career-high 8 interceptions that only trailed Kirby Joseph for most in football. McKinney did it all for the Packers, an 84.8 grade at PFF, which included a 74.2 pass rush grade and a ridiculous coverage grade of 90.0, third most among safeties. No wonder the Packers D took such a big step forward under first-year DC Jeff Hafley. Robert Hunt, C. Hunt was one of 3 free agents to ink a 9-figure contract in free agency, joining the Carolina Panthers on a $100 million pact over 5 years. Well, the ex-Miami Dolphin was far from a guy deserving of a $20 million AAV. PFF graded Hunt at 67.7 on the year, including a 57.5 pass blocking grade that ranked 84th out of 135 qualified guards. He committed 5 penalties and allowed as many sacks and 966 snaps. The saving grace was his run blocking. Hunt's respectable 72.0 grade there placed him 26th among 135 guards, with Hunt's efforts helping Chuba Hubbard rush for a career-high 1,195 yards. Jonathan Grenard, A+. After a career year with the Houston Texans, Grenard joined the Minnesota Vikings on a 4-year deal worth $76 million. Call it money perfectly spent by GM Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. Grenard earned his first Pro Bowl nod after tallying 12 sacks, 0.5 shy of matching his career best. He also had 3 pass breakups and a career-high 4 forced fumbles. Grenard was a beast in Brian Flores' defense, which finished 5th in scoring D, propelling Mini to a 14-win campaign that marked our best regular season record since 1998. Danielle Hunter, A+. Grenard left Houston for Minnesota. Hunter left Minnesota for Houston. It almost feels like a nod to John Woo's 1997 hit film Face Off starring John Travolta and Nicolas Cage, doesn't it? Hunter signed a 2-year deal with the Texans worth $49 million. The 4-time Pro Bowler also fit in nicely with his new home, racking up 12 sacks. The exact same total as Grenard with 3 pass breakups. Don't be surprised if Hunter's deal is extended in the offseason. He sure proved to be worth every single penny in year 1 with his new team. Bryce Huff, C-. Before trading star edge rusher Hassan Reddick to the New York Jets, the Eagles secured a replacement by signing Bryce Huff to a 3-year deal worth $51.1 million. Huff was coming off a breakout season, fittingly with the Jets, that saw him record 10 sacks. Though the Eagles' defense returned to an elite form under new DC Vic Fangio, Huff did not play a role in it whatsoever. He had just 2.5 sacks in 12 games and finished with a PFF grade of 68.3, including a lackluster 60.2 run defense grade. Huff is fortunate that the rest of the Eagles' front 7 did their job, so his lackluster performance really didn't cost the team anyway. We'll see if he can bounce back in 2025. Darnell Mooney, B+. It felt like a giant overpay when the Falcons gave Mooney a 3-year contract worth $39 million, especially considering he had one 1,000-yard season under his belt. But Mooney wound up being one of the few positives on the Falcons squad that disappointed mightily this year. The speedy wideout caught 64 passes for 992 yards and 5 touchdowns. Mooney formed a prolific pass-catching tandem with Drake London, throwing the presence of Bijan Robinson, and the future sure looks awfully bright for Michael Penix Jr. in the offense. Patrick Queen, C. It felt like a mega coup when the Pittsburgh Steelers signed Pro Bowl linebacker Patrick Queen away from the arch-rival Ravens on a 3-year deal worth $41 million. Adding Queen to that star-studded Pittsburgh D was supposed to net promising results. Or, so we thought. But instead, Queen had a lackluster year in Steel City, recording 1 sack and 2 forced fumbles. Though he had 7 pass breakups, Queen was a liability in coverage and garnered a disappointing 58.5 grade at PFF. DeAndre Swift, A. Looking to add another weapon for incoming rookie QB Caleb Williams, the Bears signed ex-Lions and Eagles standout running back DeAndre Swift to a reasonable 3-year pact for $24 million. Joining the list of successful 2024 free agent RB signings, Swift made good on his deal by rushing for 959 yards and 6 touchdowns. He also tallied a career-high 1,345 scrimmage yards, producing nicely in the passing game as well. Gabe Davis, F. After 4 seasons as Stephon Diggs' sidekick in Buffalo, Davis joined the Jacksonville Jaguars on a 3-year deal worth $39 million. Yeah, I gotta be honest, we hated this deal from the get-go. But, it looks even worse after 1 season. Davis never hit the 50-catch or 900-yard marks with the Bills. The Jags also had enough weaponry with Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, Travis Etienne, and rookie Brian Thomas Jr. on the way. They could have just used that money on other needs. Davis was limited to 10 game appearances and had just 20 receptions for 239 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 23.9 receiving yards per game, which was almost 50% less than his career average. But, other than that contract doesn't look too bad. Tony Pollard, A. It felt like a bit of an overpay when the Titans handed ex-Dallas Cowboys running back Tony Pollard a 3-year deal worth $21.75 million. But hey, credit to now former Titans GM Ran Carthon for spending money wisely on both Pollard and Ridley. Proving that he wasn't a product of the Cowboys system, Pollard rushed for a career-high 1,079 yards and 5 touchdowns despite missing 5 games. Could you imagine what this offense might look like if the Titans can get Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders? It's gonna be unfair. Damen Lewis, B-. Aside from signing Robert Hunt, the Panthers further tried to bolster their O-line by signing ex-Seattle Seahawk Damen Lewis to a lucrative 4-year deal worth $53 million. Lewis proved to be worth most of the money, at least in year 1. PFF graded him at 75.5, which was 17th among guards. He did allow 6 takes and committed as many penalties, but his remarkable 76.9 run-blocking grade helped the Panthers establish a prolific ground game led by Chuba Hubbard. Even if they were overpaid, Lewis and Hunt still played pivotal roles in fixing Carolina's O-line. Bryce Young was sacked 62 times. This season, only 29 times in 14 games. CJ Gardner Johnson, A. After a 1-year stop in Detroit, Gardner Johnson returned to the Eagles on a 3-year deal worth $27 million. CJ returned to his all-world form in Philly, racking up 6 interceptions and 12 pass breakups. PFF graded him at 76.0 on the year, with Gardner Johnson's 82.6 coverage grade ranking 8th among safeties. Thanks to his efforts, the Eagles finished with the league's #1 defense, allowing just 278.4 yards per game. Russell Wilson, C. The Denver Broncos released Wilson and took on $85 million in dead money, making him available for the veteran's minimum. Pittsburgh then signed him for just that, $1.2 million for the 2024 campaign. Wilson missed the first 6 games of 2024 with a calf injury, but he was named the starter over Justin Fields upon returning. Wilson went 6-1 over his first 7 games, only to drop 4 in a row to close out the regular season. That 4-game losing skid cost the Steelers the AFC North crown, with Wilson being held to under 220 passing yards in each contest. With a hot start and an ugly finish, a C grade is the most fitting for Wilson here. Josh Jacobs, A+. The results of the Xavier McKinney and Josh Jacobs signings show one thing. The Pack know how to spend in free agency, and they really ought to do it more often. Jacobs signed a 4-year deal with the Pack worth $48 million and produced aplenty and beautifully. 1,359 rushing yards and a career-high 12 touchdowns. Sam Darnold, A+++++++++. Yeah, sure, it wasn't exactly front-page headlines when the Vikings signed Darnold to a 1-year deal worth $10 million. I mean, the guy was a flop with the Jets and Panthers and spent the 2023 year as Brock Purdy's backup in San Fran. Ho-hum. So, Darnold was expected to compete with first-round pick and rookie J.J. McCarthy for the starting job. But the gig went to Darnold by default when McCarthy suffered a knee injury that required season-ending surgery. And oh boy, all Darnold did was put together an MVP-caliber year in his first season with the Vikings, completing 66.2% of pass attempts for 4,319 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Oh, and the Vikings finished 14-3, marking their best regular season record since the 1998 squad that went 15-1. Like fellow 2018 draftee Baker Mayfield, Darnold proved that it just takes the proper coach, system, and supporting cast for a QB to succeed. Beginning your career on 2 garbage organizations does not mean that you're doomed. But hey, who do you think was the best NFL free agent signing of 2024? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, then clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.